when it comes to the UK and the mass migration of many Muslims in the UK with the worst ideas on the planet, they have they are such a threat to the UK's future, in my opinion, that something really radical does need to happen to save the United Kingdom. I do wish that the idea of denaturalizing millions of people with the garbage ideas was possible. And I know a lot of people saying, you guys say that yes, it is possible. And you say, like, in the UK, you can actually denaturalize somebody. What you guys are talking about is something that is so small in numbers that is not going to make a difference when it comes to the demographic change in the UK that is happening. The thing that you guys say that is possible is not possible to the degree that is required to fix the UK. It's not even remotely close. And you keep talking about the fact that, oh well, so many people in the UK are angry. Yeah, and they have a Muslim. You also are, first of all, you're missing the political influence that voting British, like UK Muslims have. You actually need to be worried about the other way around. Like, you think that the many UK citizens are angry. Many UK citizens are now Muslim, and they actually have been very more effective in acting as a voting bloc compared to the rest of the UK that is angry. They're so much more united than the people who are angry against the demographic change that is happening right now, right? Like, even the people who are against this mass migration, they're spread across different parties and they don't seem to agree. The Muslim bloc, the Muslim voting bloc in the UK, they're very united and they know what they're doing and they're politically active. And even though UK Muslims are only 6% of the population, their level of unity and acting as a voting bloc and their level of political activity makes each one of them be at worth politically as 10 citizens. Like, I'm not saying exactly that, but it makes them a lot more relevant politically when you behave like that. So any political party that wants to even suggest that has to also go against them as a voting bloc as well. And even if you wanted to do denaturalizations of people on a large number, you wouldn't be able to do it. There is no way you could do that against people who just have garbage beliefs but have done nothing, right? Every single terrorist that you see, every single member of a grooming gang that you see, every single Muslim that you have seen in the UK that has committed a crime and is basically doing things that makes them um, deportable, and maybe even to the point where you could say you could denaturalize them. For every one of those, there's more than thousands of Muslims that haven't done anything, any of that, and they're still dangerous. Some people might think like, okay, Armin, if they haven't done anything, then they're not dangerous. They vote and that makes them even more dangerous. In fact, if it was the case that most of these people were criminals, then the issue would have been dealt with. It would be easier to figure out a solution to this problem. Many of them don't end up doing crimes and they do something that basically breaks the foundations of your country more than doing crimes, more than doing terrorist attacks. As bad as terrorist attacks are, as bad as the grooming gangs are, there are localized threats to your countries that is not eating the roots of your country. The voting bloc that is not committing crimes but is voting differently, challenging the values of your countries, those are a bigger threat to the future of your country than the ones that are committing crimes. And there is absolutely zero legal process. You can't even charge these people with crimes, let alone denaturalize them. You want to denaturalize them? These are people that you can't even charge with crimes. I think it's basically a fantasy to come up with an idea of like, oh, let's save the UK by just deporting, denaturalizing the Muslim citizens and deporting them. I mean, guys, I wish there was a quick and easy solution like that. That is not a solution. And by focusing on that, we're missing out on that. on actual real solutions. Like this is basically wishful thinking, in my opinion, and is basically taking focus away from actual ways that we could address this. And the more that we don't, the more that we get distracted with by just hoping that we could deport these people, the farther behind we're going to be in coming up with an actual solution. I mean, when it comes, I'm all for deporting. Like we need to figure out ways to deport as many people as possible. We need to stop migration, like bring the migration from Islamic countries to zero, and that's just the beginning. That's just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
But yeah, but then let me know what you think.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Armin, but and you make some good points. It is exceedingly difficult to do all this. I just don't think. I think you're thinking too much in the boxes. I get what you're saying, practically speaking, as it stands now. I'm talking about in the years to come when it gets really, really bad. You're talking about legal solutions. I'm saying I think we're heading to a place where the people simply aren't going to care about that anymore. I'm talking civil war. I'm talking blood on the streets. I'm talking a civilizational clash where the entire society just completely fucking breaks down, and you're talking like Reconquista type shit, like
I
back in the
don't
day.
I don't see that happening. But even if what you're saying happens, when you say things have gotten worse, that means that we even have more Muslims. So if we have civil war, we're also going to have them fighting as well. Like you're talking, like I don't see what you're saying happening. But even if it did happen, that would still not lead to
Uh,
deportation of them. That
here,
hold
here,
on, that would not even, that would not lead to deportations because they're going to be fighting as well. You understand, they have enough political power
yeah,
for them to also have, control over the police force and even the army because of the political power that they have. So this is basically a civil war that would destroy the UK rather than a civil war that would lead
they're not going
to
to
the
take
mass
over the army.
deportation.
That's not gonna happen. They're not
I
gonna
didn't.
let. We're not. I'm just.
You're not listening. You're
I am.
misunderstanding what I
I am
said.
listening to you, man. I'm telling you,
No,
you're
no.
naive.
You're misunderstanding. You're misunderstanding me. This is a very naive, quick and like this is. I didn't say take over the army. I said they will have influence over the army. Obviously they're a voting bloc. Nobody's going to take over the army. You say you're listening to me, but you're not, because I never mentioned the word
Okay.
taking over. But
Okay. Fair enough.
if they are a political bloc, if they have voting power, the army, the whoever, all the politicians that get to decide what the police does and what the army does are going to care about their votes as well.
I
So if
understand.
if you want a violent force that kicks them out, it's not going to be the army, it's not going to be the police, because the army and the police is going to be loyal to that voting bloc as well. If you're talking about civilians picking up arms, well, guess what? They're also going to pick up arms, and guess what? They're ready to be martyred. So if you are looking for a solution that has blood on the streets, that is not going to save the UK. That is going to be the true downfall of the UK. We're just basically civil war in the streets. It's not going to kick them out. In fact,
I'm
if
not.
anything, if you get this much of a civilizational collapse where you have Muslims versus other people fighting in the streets of UK, if anything, that will invite more Muslims to come to UK, because they will think like, oh my God, look at this. Like this is a call for jihad, right? You're going to get Muslims. This is going to attract more Muslims from around the globe to the UK rather than kicking them out.
All right. I see what you're saying. I'm just saying this is what I see it coming down the road. I'm just saying I think that's where we're headed. It's not a matter of what I like or what I don't like. I just think you're looking at a very bleak.
If you're right, but if you're right, that's not going to save the UK. If you're
You can't just like appeal to their kids and get them to turn away from Islam. That's not going to get the job done.
Well, you say that's not going to get the job done, but that's literally how we saved Iran. That's literally what happened in Iran. Iran fell to Islam, and now it's being cleansing itself from Islam. That's literally what happened in our country. And we fell to Islam more than the UK has fallen to Islam now. You have a 6% Muslim problem. We had a Islamic government problem. And now the Iranian people are the most anti-Islamic people in the world. So at least I have precedent for something like that.
Sure, I see what you're saying. But you're still dealing with you're still dealing with people within your. These were still people within your country. These were your own. These were your own people, and this was an internal conflict. These people, these immigrants, they're not British. They don't belong to that heritage. There is there are a lot more difficulties.
Yeah, I'm talking about kids with a blank slate. I'm talking about people that will see the different lifestyles.
I understand that. I'm just talking about the cultural gravity of the situation. You have
Yeah,
a
I mean,
that's
you
just
have a superior culture. You could be, yeah, the culture is their culture is garbage, but any
yeah.
kid it's not predetermined what a
Okay.
culture a kid would align with. You could
Okay.
basically demonstrate your culture is superior. You could
Sure.
demonstrate the superiority of the culture and basically steal their kids.
Haven't we been trying to do that though in some respect?
No, no, you haven't. No, you haven't. They have been trying to respect their culture and preserve it. They have been doing the opposite.
Mm. Well, I'll tell you.
We need to,
I I see what you're saying. I mean, okay. Well, one of the things you're going to have to do if you're going to do this, if you're going to go down that road, you got to ban Islamic schools. Period.
I
You
agree
get,
with that. I agree.
you,
Actually, I'm actually more extreme with that. I think that you need to ban Islamic teaching by parents in their homes. You need to and consider it child abuse. I think you need to ban parents teaching. You need to have de-radicalization programs in schools. Schools needs to be mandatory. Homeschooling in countries that have been Islamized to such a degree needs to be illegal. And any kid that is showing signs of radicalization in school, need to be separated from their parents.
hmm, I like that. I agree with
Okay.
all
Well,
that.